When I think of the ways in my lifetime, probably in your lifetime, you can come up with a few more ways that I believed life could be defeated. The life in me could be defeated. It's amazing. I came up with all kinds of different things. There are certain illnesses that could defeat you, right? To some of us, the answer is no. There are people who could seem to take away from our lives. A variety of situations. And I remember one of the early affirmations I learned from Catherine Ponder. And it included something I thought was pretty wonderful at the time. Of course, I was brand new to Unity back in 1966. Did they have Unity in 1966? It just seems like a long time ago. This little fragment of an affirmation. No one and no thing can take my good from me. You've heard that before, have you not? Do you believe it? I hope so. Because if we don't believe that, then we think something can take life, can defeat the life within us. The life in our minds, our hearts, our bodies, can separate us from good of some kind. I think one of the most important lessons that Jesus taught was this fact. This human world that we live in, with its self-created illusion, you got that? We made it up ourselves. We hogtied ourselves with this concept. The illusion of an opposing force called, well, it's what made Flip Wilson do it all the time, remember? Remember Flip Wilson? Or is that too far back for you? The devil made me do it. Yeah. I remember back in the 80s, Ted Dressy was our soloist here. He was a school teacher. And he taught out at Central High School. And he came back and told me a story of being in the faculty lounge with one other teacher was in there, and they got to talking about unity. She knew nothing about unity. And in the discussion, and talking about God, and she said to him, well, that means there's no Satan. And Ted said, yes, you've got it. And she said, oh no. That means I'm responsible. And that's as far as it went. Yeah. We've been under this illusion for generations and generations and generations that there's something that can keep our good from us, that can defeat life. But Jesus taught that that was not so, that no one and no thing can defeat life or keep your good from you. I believe, let me say that, from my reading of the Bible and study of what Jesus taught, I believe that in his teaching, in his demonstration of life, in spite of the crucifixion, remember? There was life after crucifixion. In spite of it, I think he very dramatically showed us that life itself can't be defeated. What do you think? Nothing, no outside force defeated the life force within him. No outside force defeated the life force in Lazarus or the little girl that he raised up after he recognized she was only sleeping. In other words, this isn't a permanent condition. This is not unchangeable. So, I think in many ways we have misunderstood our origin. We have misunderstood the purpose of our being here. I think we've locked ourselves for generations into a mental prison. And that prison is populated with fear and doubt, even doubt about God itself. Do you ever doubt God? Do you ever doubt that God can help you? Do you ever doubt that God is with you? Do you ever doubt that God loves you or cares? I jotted down some thoughts I had that if I could give you a test next week, I think these would be on the test. If any thought you have, any act you do could defeat the purpose of life, then I'm sorry, I'm kind of loud. Then you would be greater than God. Wouldn't you? The only source of life is, if you could defeat it, you would be greater than. Think you'd pass that on the test? Yeah. If you could, by any thought or act, defeat the purpose of creation, what all this is for and about, then what do you think? You'd be mightier than God. Well, okay, let's make the stakes a little larger here. If all beings on this planet, all humanity could at any time, by their thinking, by their actions, defeat the purpose of life, then mankind itself would be greater than God. Now, Charles Fillmore said, trust the inherent logic of your mind. Does your mind tell you that's logical? That human beings, even collectively, are greater than God? I know it's difficult to admit, but does the logic of your mind tell you that you are greater than God? Yeah. Of course not. Now, as I said, there's could be a test on that next week. You'll have to administer it because I won't. That inability of you, me, anyone, or all of us together makes Jesus' message, I think, the supreme teaching of all time. Remember, Jesus did not succeed because of anything people or humanity did to help him. He succeeded in spite of the things people did to defeat him. Got that? There were blocks all around. Now, the people who believed in him, who followed him, no, they didn't seek to defeat him, but others did. And he succeeded in spite of them. Undefeatable life. I've used in the past universal life energy or universal life's essence, God life. The only life there is, it's waiting to help us. It's waiting to help you. If this were not so, then would there have been a message in Jesus' life? Would there have been any wonderful, outstanding outcome in Jesus' life? Would we even be here, maybe? We might be following some other philosophy, some other teacher. Charles Fillmore stated very carefully, and I think often, that Jesus Christ was the head of this church. I just now realized you haven't heard that in a while. I haven't said it in a while. And I'm sorry for that, because it's what he believed. In the early part of 1900s, you've heard of the International New Thought Alliance, and INTA. Unity was a member. And in fact, I was told that the old-time Unity minister, teacher, for whom I played organ in Cincinnati, E.V. Ingraham, outstanding man. And at the beginning of the 1900s, he was here with Charles and Myrtle, working here at headquarters. I think initially he was manager of the Unity Inn, and then he became one of their teachers and then taught in the minister training program here at Unity in the 1930s, 1920s and 30s. He was an outstanding teacher. Well, at the beginning of the 1900s, when they first entered INTA, Inge was their representative to the International New Thought Alliance. And then Charles did something that seemed pretty remarkable, I think, at the time. He rethought Unity's connection to INTA. And it was over one issue. They adopted a set of principles that they believed in. And Charles wanted them to include that they followed the Jesus Christ standard in living and teaching. And they didn't. And he felt that was an important enough principle to step away. In later years, we did reconnect with INTA, but that's how it was in the early days. I have a photograph of the upstairs room when it was the book room where they were selling books and literature during an INTA conference at the very early part of the 1900s. He believed that Jesus Christ standard was so important for us, for our lives, for us to not only recognizing Jesus, but then to use and apply in our lives. That is what makes the difference. It isn't a fun talk or a class that's just a hoot and you have a wonderful time. It's a class that maybe you have a wonderful time and there's a hoot or a talk that makes you feel good and you walk out smiling, but then there's something there that comes out of that Jesus Christ standard of living, of expressing the divinity within, and then put it to use in your life. I think in his teaching and the demonstrations he did, that they were done and are there to let you know, to let us know, to let generations know that you can succeed in life. Not because of anything humanity does to help you, but because that universal life essence, life itself, is in back of you, seeks to work through you, seeks itself to demonstrate that it is I don't want to use that word. No. Undefeatable, I'll use that one. What popped into head is indefatigable. Who wants to use it? Undefeatable in you and in your life. That universal life essence, that undefeatable energy and life is of omnipresence, all power, all places, all wisdom, all knowledge. And it's within every cell of your body. You can succeed in spite of anything. Unity can. Oh, mercy. You can succeed in spite of anything, anyone, I was trying to say humanity, anything humanity, anything people can do to you. Does that make sense? You can. Do we always believe that? No. We give people all kinds of power, and especially those, they have purchased the most shining, strong, glittery, eye-catching personality in the world. And they're up in your face telling you why they are better than you are. Yes, that life force in you is undefeatable. But you've got to know it and remember it. Otherwise, it's like a hothouse flower in the brilliant August sun, withers away. You've done that in your life, haven't you? Been in front of one of these glittery big personalities that seems so powerful. Okay, whatever you say. That's not the life that's in you. Because remember, no one, not even you or anyone else, can defeat God life. It's the only life there is. Back of you, standing within you, around you, within every cell of your body is this undefeatable life of almightiness. Remember a couple of weeks ago I used that word, almightiness? I like that word. Almightiness. If it is almighty, then what other might is there out there somewhere? Is there some might in opposition to almightiness? Can't be, because almightiness is all of it. So when Bill Fisher handed me this idea of the almightiness of God is healing you now, it was like cold water in my face. because that word almightiness meant so much in the moment. It meant that there was nothing else that could defeat God life, the life force of God, universal life energy within me. And folks, at the time, I was a basket case. Not a Moses exactly, but but I felt very weak, impotent, a victim, frail. You know what it's like when you're down physically, then you're down emotionally. I felt I was a good candidate for a prayer card to that patron saint, Jude. You know St. Jude? Patron saint of the hopeless. Hey, I was there. Can I get a lifetime membership? A couple of times I've hollered for St. Jude because I felt I was right there at the hopelessness. That almightiness of God is there all the time. But you could live your whole life with indoor plumbing, and if you didn't know what it was or how to use it, and you just didn't pay any attention to it, what good would it do you, right? I remember Aunt Nettie's farm, and that little shed that was 150 feet from the house. Little boxy place with one door, and never understood why it had two seeds. It was a long, cold walk. And in the dark of night, oh baby, there were things out there, you know, when you're out in the country, 40 miles from a big city, there's no light. It's lonely and scary. I'd want to use the plumbing in the house, if only she had some. Yeah. But you know, I was never alone. I guess the Lord of being sat on the other seat, protecting me. That if we can be firm in mind, remember the idea of a firmament, a firm place upon which to stand, and that firm place being no one and no thing can defeat God life in me. That's a wonderful platform upon which to build your life. You don't need to act tough. You don't need to act unafraid. Because God's power is with you. God's protection, God's armor is about you. Life, the almightiness, the love of God are all within you and with you. I think there's an important biblical statement that Jesus made. And he said it in John 14, the 12th verse. Greater works than these. I mean, people had seen him do all kinds of stuff, right? Greater works than these shall you do. Why? Because that God life within you, that essence, God itself coming through you, as you, is greater than anything. It can't be defeated by anyone or anything. That's pretty exciting, don't you think? I know. just know. I know that the works that he did, he knew were only instruction for those who followed him, who came after. And that those of us who follow him should follow his instruction and do the greater works than he did. I think that's expected. This is a universe of evolution, of change, ever upward. Oh, we have our fits and starts in life because of choices we make, but the overall path is upward, directly to God, to stand forth in all that radiant glory that was within, and was, and is Jesus Christ. That is you. We're just now awakening to the possibilities. And I think in my life, I can more and more, I see the growth of consciousness toward God. I see people being more remarkable than I remember 50 years ago. More amazing. More aware of who and what they are. We're just awakening to this truth. But it's for us to know, for us to express and imagine. If you take the words of Jesus recorded in the Bible, whoo-wee, put them to use. If everyone did that, can you imagine what this world would be? I think I just showed you a picture of heaven on earth. Paradise. Everyone expressing their godness, the whole world would express as absolute good. And there's a real reason. The Bible is, according to Guinness Book of World Records, is the largest selling nonfiction book of all time. I think the last number that I saw was about 5 billion copies. That's pretty good. I tell you, if I'd written a book and it sold 5 billion copies, Monte Carlo, here we come. And I also believe that some people buy them because they know there's something wonderful in them, but may never read them. Some buy them and they're drawn to something about them and they read them, but they don't get what's in there. And then there are those who get it and don't use it. And those who get it so completely that they live it. We could be that last one. Would be pretty remarkable, wouldn't it? Those words that he said, those truths that he taught, teaching you that this almightiness is in you and works through you, and the life within you is not defeatable, is eternal. He said, heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. 24th chapter of Matthew. And folks, they haven't. You still hear quotes of Jesus said around places. Church here and there. Can't do it in schools anymore. But we can still do it here. And you can think it, but most important, you can live it. He said, the words I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. That's the 6th chapter of John. And when he said this, those are words of life themselves. But only if we use them, put them to use, recognizing that that life force of God, as we apply these truths, as we do what he instructed us to do, as we live following that Jesus Christ standard, it's indomitable. We are indomitable. But a guy, he had that courage, boldness to proclaim that God was undefeatable, that life was eternal and unconquerable, and that love was a basic law of the universe and of life. We forget, this is a benevolent universe. Everything is here to meet your need. There's nothing anywhere within it for us to fear. Yet we carry fear and doubt. The law of the universe is love. And to heal, to make whole, to complete in the outer that pure potential that's within. That's what thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven means. In the within, that pure perfection brought out into expression in the earth. Moses told his people, thou shalt not. Told them all the things not to do. Jesus said, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Yeah. It wasn't a negative command. It was very positive. Not what to do, not what not to do, but what to do in order to live that life that does all the greater works. He taught us to deny the things that are undesirable, to take the power out of them in our minds, and affirm, make a firm place for all those desirable things in life. Life, love, peace of mind. You know what they are. Prosperity. As you think in your heart, so are you. In your heart, within the depth of you, in your subconscious mind, know that that life of God in you is undefeatable. That you succeed not because of what people do for you, or in spite of what people do to you. You succeed because that undefeatable God life is with you, within you, and working with you.